Welcome back. Margot Mastery, founder and CEO of Heartfelt CFO and Tax Services. We come here each week to talk about growing real estate owners, businesses, entrepreneurs, founder led, family led businesses, and talk about the different things that shift and change in the market. So, last week we talked about the growing turning point of something of the biggest things to really look at. And it wasn't about another employee. It wasn't about another, all the parts of that, the hire. It wasn't your gross revenue number. It was the idea that our business has quietly outgrown the financial system that once really worked. And it worked in the way of, bookkeeping and the traditional systems, but it didn't really answer the questions on what's the next step. And you've probably heard these buzzwords in the industry around advisory, and that advisory is like your answer to everything. And it really is your keys and clues to your next steps. And these segments are more curated specifically for the real estate industry to do just that. So, what is that next step? So, we know that we outgrow the system. That's what we talked about last week. And then today, it's like, so what is next, Margot? I call this the financial reset. It doesn't mean you're starting from square one. What it means is that you're growing with clarity at every single stage. So, why do owners really reach out to me? They they're thinking about buying a property. They're trying to see if cash is tight. They want to pay less in taxes, the traditional questions. But those are usually not the actual real problems. Before I can really answer that, I usually ask one simple pointed question back is, do we truly understand where the business is today? Now, lots of times, again, the traditional method is, you can deduct this, you can deduct that, and you can save here, and blah, blah, blah. And it snowballs around that. But surprisingly often, my business owners of real estate growth don't really know where the business stands. A common trait is really there's this heavy disorganization or disorientation around it. And what happens is for the natural process of you're learning through the waves and curves of business of building that this doesn't always come. And this system we're going to talk about today and continue to talk about today and over the next several weeks, it's going to do just that with simple tricks to help you get there faster, quicker, and just more on point, handing you the bow to the system. So you buy your first property, you know what's coming in, you know what's going out, and you know what's happening, but growth is changing. So now you could have multiple entities, and now all of a sudden you can have refinances, property managers, loans, investors, and all of these things. So now it's becoming more complex, and there's a lot of valuable information that needs to come from each part too. So these hidden inefficiencies over time, they often compile to what is the bigger issue at hand. And what happens is that it has nothing to do with being a bad operator. It's because that the business requires a different level of leadership that the business is now moving towards. So when you began, it needed something, and then now it's needing a different type of leadership to be able to hold this architecture. So what does a reset really mean? It really is as simple as exactly what it says. And it's not about fixing a broken business, it's more about the way of not necessarily inspecting the property or knowing different numbers. It's evaluating the opportunity. And what do I mean by that? We have our end goal. It's knowing the right questions to ask so that the goal is accomplished. So it's the quality questions to get into our next acquisition or to take on another development or to sell and all of the other parts that can really come to that. And this clarity creates a confidence and a very big difference because you can spin in and out of opportunities quicker, faster, and more profitable. And taxes come easier with the strategy when the right decision comes. So clarity of decisions and tax strategy come hand in hand when we're making more decisions from clarity and confidence than just throwing spaghetti against the wall. So the questions that I ask, it's not about software, it's not about bookkeeping. It's where is our cash actually going? Or are the properties actually performing? Did we just tolerate things that we thought should be there because we're just too busy? And which ones aren't? What decisions do we really need to make? So here we are today, we're listening to this video, and you're in there. What decisions that you really need to make that are sitting at you that we can make in here together? And is your current cash flow actually supporting that next acquisition? I had one operator where he was, taking from Peter to pay Paul, for lack of a better way to say this. And it ended up really taking a toll. And he did this because he just felt it was like the opportunity of the world. In a lot of ways, it was. But the sacrifice that he had to make was a long lasting lesson. And those long lasting lessons, what happens? It's our keys and clues to our next steps. So this is the leadership of where we're talking about, of you taking ownership in that part and working together with me hand in hand, where we talk about this on a deeper level knowing. So what numbers do you know, and what numbers do you wish you know? And what do you need help deciding, and what could you do that these are just flowing in the way that you really want them to? Now, information finances, they help make things easier, but they're also not the be all. What usually helps is that where we're going and the whole direction of where this company really is. So how does leadership look different? It looks different because it's not perfect books. It's about making better decisions, stronger decisions, so that it's not around every accounting rule, making it right or wrong or perfections. It's the ones who understand where their business is going, is where the strength of the business and tax actually curate and operate the engine from there. And when you're thinking ahead and when you're looking ahead and you're prepared, there's a lot of differences than versus we're just taking it on. But how about if you already knew in your head how much loans you can take and how much money is actually there versus trying to cash out and rectify later? It's a big difference, right? And when the reset comes, we stabilize, we create structure, and we pause before slowing down. And the slowing down and the pausing happens in two different ways. We pause because it's kind of like, what's going on? And that's usually like a race. And then we slow down to try to tap into it. And the fastest way to growing, it's not always taking the next step, but it's the right step for you. Lots of times people are looking at things in hindsight, but growth doesn't eliminate uncertainty. Clarity does. And every successful business reaches out at the point where level of financial leadership it's difficult. But let's shift that in the industry and start to change around how we look at things and how we look at our money and our business, so that our family has this for generations to come. And if you're wondering where your business stands today, or the question of the foundation of the growth, or something similar to that, where you would like to get to this level, you may be on this, you may be further, I would love for you to reach out. Feel free to comment around this video as well. Hit reply, hit comment, depending on how you see it. And I would love to know your takeaways from today. Is there something that you would add, shift, or change to this conversation? And I really want to say is that what deserve your next attention, I would love to work and help you together so that we can make the next steps beyond profitable, beyond your wildest dreams. So I cannot wait to do that with you. I cannot wait to see you on my calendar. Thank you for listening, and please keep tuning into our weekly sessions here. And if you always have any questions or topics that you'd like us to talk about, feel free to continue to send them on. That's where all our topics are coming from. Talk soon, and thanks for listening.